Welcome to 1010's podcast. My name is Michael Beck with Adam Nielsen and Mr. Handsome Robbie. And on the Skype machine, we have James from Kanga Motorsports. How's it going, James?
Doing good. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, glad you're back. This is the second go-round with 1010's podcast. Before we jump into that, though, let's do our social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at 1010's podcast. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us at 1010spodcast.com, where we have our store with all of our dope shirts and whatnot. Where else? Always forget someplace. Car Throttle.
Drive Tribe.
Yeah.
Drive Tribe.
Rates and reviews.
Yep. Make sure to go to iTunes. And
We got a couple on iTunes in the last month or so. Pretty excited about it.
yeah, it seems like every time we talk about it, somebody comes in and does it, and it's always
Appreciate
good.
that.
do.
We're up to like 10 or something on Facebook, which is crazy. We have quite a few there, which I like.
So find us there. And then what else? I totally lost my rhythm. Don't do this on Saturdays.
After a week of being basically dead.
Yeah. So for too much information, I guess, Adam and I
screw
got the norovirus,
Yeah.
which typically we would record a show on a Wednesday. And it's Saturday, the day before it's supposed to come out, and this norovirus thing completely destroyed us. So it just makes you deathly ill for 2 or 3 days.
I was so miserable that my girlfriend got it. My son got it. We were all three sick at the same time. My girlfriend was hospitalized from dehydration problems. Oh, God.
Yeah, you can't even eat or drink anything. Drinking water made me sick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's terrible.
Yeah.
And Robbie,
I'm glad you
with his
kept it to yourselves.
incredible immune system,
I say thanks to emergency that
that vitamin C bullshit didn't
I
do anything.
drink
for
it
you.
every day and I never got
You
sick.
drink it every day?
Not every day.
Vitamin
but
C
every
bullshit.
couple of days when I'm not feeling super 100%.
Really?
Oh yeah,
That's expensive.
not that expensive.
Stuff's not that cheap. For a vitamin C supplement,
It's not that expensive.
it's expensive.
Can't you just get a pill that's like way cheaper?
Yeah, it's all the hype around emergencies BS. They could charge a big premium.
I was fine all week. You two were sick all week. We can listen to me here. I was right. You were wrong.
Okay, fair enough.
It's hard to dispute that argument at this point in
Yeah,
time.
I suppose. But because I was like out sick for most of the week, I binge watched Monster Garage on Netflix.
I've never even seen it.
How dare you?
I don't- I've
I
seen-
don't understand how you haven't
I've
so
seen
seen
it.
pissed
bits
off
and
about that.
pieces of episodes here and there, but like my dad didn't watch it, and we had one TV in my house growing up. So if my dad didn't watch it, you didn't watch it. That was just how it was.
That is ridiculous.
I didn't realize how many episodes there were. Like I was like, oh, I've seen all of them. I really don't think I have.
Well, the only season that's on Netflix is season 5.
Exactly. I didn't realize there was.
So
5
what does that mean?
seasons.
Like, yeah, there's 4 seasons
Is that
before
the
that.
last one?
I assume it probably is. I don't know. I hadn't looked into it.
No, I haven't yet.
Have you ever seen that, James?
No, I've got it queued up on my Netflix. I just haven't had time to watch it. So
We'll give him a pass because
He's Australian.
Yes.
They probably
Australian.
didn't do that in Australia when it was,
big here.
That would have been
Actually,
like
a thing.
2004,
Yeah.
5. Yeah, it would have been. It was a little while ago.
yeah, I was in Europe. I didn't have TV then. So.
Yeah, Europe didn't have TV in 2005, obviously. So anyway, it's been pretty sweet. Is the master fabricator himself, Mr. Jesse James.
I suppose I should try and watch it sometime, but
It's better than
All the garbage. Yeah.
Gas Monkey
well,
Garage.
that's not really.
What?
I mean, duh.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying. The problem is that Monster Garage probably fed all that, Gas
Oh,
Monkey
for
Garage
sure.
and whatever, counting
cars
cars,
and-
which I've said before, I don't hate counting cars, but I'm not going to watch it.
I think that guy's more real.
I actually think he likes cars
Yeah.
for the sake of liking cars.
Yeah.
Like if he didn't have a business selling and restoring whatever cars, he would.
He would still own cars.
Yeah.
And they would be cool cars.
Yep.
Whereas I don't even know can't think of his name now, but that,
Rollins.
Yeah.
he would have cars probably, but they'd probably be.
He wouldn't
too
know
short
anything
wheels
about
on,
'em.
and I wouldn't care about them.
Right. Exactly.
He wouldn't work on them for sure.
No. And that's why I like watching Monster Garage, because Jesse will just like swoop in and build a set of headers in an hour and then leave. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't really even want to sit there on camera and, make the devil's horns and, do whatever Richard Rollins does, has a stupid beard and whatnot. He just comes in and builds shit and then he leaves. He goes away for a while and then he comes back. He says, "What are you guys doing? Why is it taking you so long?" And then he kicks some shit over, lights it on fire, and then leaves.
You have to give the dude credit though, because he's kind of built an empire, Rollins. He's got a energy drink and I think like a whiskey or something, and I mean,
well, what's interesting about that, because I was looking into West Coast choppers and like how it started. I guess it actually started as a T-shirt company. So
okay.
Jesse James started it in high school before he was fabricating, and they were just selling T-shirts. And then he started building bikes, but the T-shirts were the main part of the business. And even when he was really big time, like when he built that bike for Shaq and all that stuff, he said that the business of building bikes was actually losing them money.
Yeah, if you read his book, it's pretty crazy how he got to start, because he worked for like Chip Foose when he first got started. He was making fenders and hot rod stuff for Chip Foose, then started making his own. And
Oh, really? So
yeah.
he worked for Chip. That's how he learned how to fabricate, and then he started building his own
He
bikes.
was building choppers in his garage, his mom's garage. Not
Yeah,
even-
yeah, that I did know.
Huh.
So kind of interesting. So it's West Coast Choppers has kind of always been like a marketing company. You know what I mean?
And
They
then
kind of built bikes on the side, and they lost money doing it.
Yep. And then he sold it to some Chinese investors for $100 million, and then moved to Texas, and then bought it back from them
Yep.
for way less than what he sold it for.
But they were like, he was complaining about, they were building crap that basically he didn't want to put his name on.
Yeah, because people still associated it with him regardless of his involvement.
Yeah, and so he just wanted to get away from it.
Yep.
Now
I
he makes
could see that. Yeah, that
Now-
makes sense.
now he makes guns,
Guns, fishing reels,
knives.
knives, Austin Speed Shop, West Coast Choppers. He's involved in his wife's Top Fuel Dragster,
Wait, who's he married to?
Alexis DeJour. Yeah, Alexis DeJour.
She's a Top Fuel dragster driver, huh?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's
She's
awesome.
and to add to that, she's the heiress to the Paul Mitchell fortune.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, there's a lot of money.
That dude's just
He's
doing
super-
fine.
super,
isn't he?
super loaded, yeah.
Holy crap.
Yep.
So, anyways, do you guys have any updates to your cars? Anything going on this week?
Yeah, I ordered wheels and tires. I ended up having to go with the narrower route. I bought a set of 15x7 Koenig rewinds. They look the business, the period correctness on the car.
They look good.
I like them.
really
I'm
like
excited
them.
about it. So if you're following me on Instagram, you've already seen that. I also ended up buying some Falcon 615, the pluses, the new ones. So hopefully they wear as well as the old ones did. I don't really know. I didn't really research it. I was just like, whatever, buying. I just need to buy the stuff before this money disappears. So
This money will be gone before you know it.
yeah, that's how it always works for me. Like, oh yeah, I finally have some money. Let's do some research.
it's
And
gone.
then when I figured out what I want to get, the money's gone. So this time I was just like, buy.
I don't.
Nice.
I have this new theory about tires that I wasn't going to share because I think it kind of like puts a couple people we know on blast. But anybody that we know locally, like, shouldn't get so caught up in tire models. Like, just buy some 200 treadwear tires and move on with your life.
Yeah, we're not racing on national.
Yeah, I
levels.
guarantee you that I am not going to be remarkably quicker on the RE71R than
Yep.
I am on the Falcon tire, even if the RE71R is quote unquote the faster tire.
Yeah,
Like
that's-
I don't have the driving skill to do such. It
keep-
doesn't matter to me.
I keep seeing people buying RE71Rs, and I'm just like, you probably could have saved some money if you would have bought something else. And I don't think it's going to make any difference. I think at our level, there are so many other things that you could do to be faster, spend your money going faster, or just working on your technique to be faster, that, those two different tires are not going to, the differentiation between the two is so minuscule that it's not going to matter. And that's
I agree with that.
that's an expensive tire.
Definitely spend money on your tires before you start spending money on like suspension and stuff like that. You can quickly see with your tires, the limits of the car. The best upgrade you can do to a car is the tires, really.
And I agree with that, but I think when you're getting down to splitting hairs on the tires themselves, it's
Oh, of
probably
course, yeah.
not as much value in the price.
Yeah, and if it's a difference between like an R comp or a 200 treadwear or a slick and a 200 treadwear, obviously there's a huge difference
Right.
there. But
Yeah.
But you put an RS3 on my 240 or an RE71, I'm not going to be able to tell you the difference. I'm pretty certain of that.
And you may feel some difference. I mean, not to say we don't have any motorsport experience, but I just you got to take your budget into account too. I mean, do you know the difference between on your tires?
I didn't even price the RE71R because number one, I don't think they make a 205 5015. I think you can only get a 195 or a 225. But the other thing, they're known for not wearing well. The life on those, because that 200 tread, or the treadwear thing is such a bullshit rating to begin with. So, because it doesn't, there's no like set way of determining it. So that number is kind of bullshit to begin with. So that RE71 does not have the same tread life as a lot of those other 200 treads. And so to me, like, I was genuinely concerned about being able to finish a season with a set of those tires and doing all the driving I want to do with that car this year. And so to me, it's just not worth it. I can't buy 2 sets of tires this year.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
for sure.
Exactly. And I think if people are down to that point where they're trying to decide what tire they're going to buy, if it's a situation where your budget doesn't allow you to just spend the money on the best tire kind of, at will, if you get halfway through the season and your tires are shot, it's like, oh, it's not that big a deal. I can just buy another set. I would look at the other options that are available and get something else, because I don't think, the Falcon versus the RE71 for most people is going to, ruin you for that season or make you fall out of the top 10 lap times or anything like that.
Yeah, unless you're competing national level, solo nationals, that's where it really matters, I think.
Yes.
We're doing it for fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it gonna make it less fun? It may make it less fun if you buy RE71Rs and
then you miss out on the second,
Yeah.
the last quarter of the season because your tires are shot and you don't have a budget like I did last year.
right, or you got to spend another $300 or $400 on tires because they're an extra $100 a piece.
That's definitely less fun.
That is less fun. It's less, you could put anti-roll bars or, name your part. Maybe
Seat
you could have
time.
bought that instead. Just going to events.
Time.
Absolutely. So I was thinking about that this week and just kind of want to plant that bug in people's ear. Don't get too caught up on, buying the absolute best reviewed, absolute best, tire. If you can get something else that's very, very similar, maybe 90% as good, and it means you're going to be able to do other things.
Yeah. I have a buddy who I've been talking to a bunch lately about wheel and tire for his Firebird, and he can't make up his mind because he's all worried about it. I'm just like, dude, just buy a tire.
A new tire is going to be better than an old tire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's got like this 400 treadwear tire on there now. He doesn't drive the car that much. He's like convinced that a 200 tread's not going to last him a season. Like, just buy a tire, dude. If you're worried about it, buy a 300. I mean, whatever. Just get some tires.
You should just get some
RS3s.
RS3s.
They'll last for
That's what I think.
crazy.
The other thing is he has kind of a weird size.
What size?
I don't remember offhand, but it's a 19. I know that, and I know he wants to run fairly wide, but I don't remember what his sizing is. And he's having a hard time. He also runs different sizes front and rear, and he's having a hard time finding a company that makes a decent tire that is both of those sizes.
Yeah, I suppose. No, I'll swear by the RS3s all day long,
I think
just because they're
gone. I don't think they make them anymore because there's a 4 out now.
Is there really?
Yeah, there's an RS4 out, and I think that so far, we're going to talk about this anyway. So far, that seems to be the hot tire this year. That seems to be the one that's 3% better.
I have not shopped tires this year because, again, my RS3s have lasted me.
Right, and so like I kind of wonder if in the lengths they went to improve it to try and be competitive with the RE71, I wonder if that longevity that RS3 had is going to be gone.
Maybe.
Probably.
We'll find out because Jazz bought 245s for RS4s for his Miata.
I would like to know how those last.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to know price point too. Should ask him about that if it's changed.
They weren't bad actually. I think he paid like $130 a piece.
Yeah, see that's a great price point, and hopefully they wear like the old ones did, and that's a great tire.
Yes,
I think
for a
that's
lot
what
of people.
Josh Fettis is going to end up with on his Miata as well. I think they made some good Miata sizes, so I think they're going to be popular there.
And I think realistically, to go up to an RE71R in that same size is going to be another $75.
I don't know what they cost.
Or
At a
$100.
$15 tire, they're all very similarly priced, frankly.
On a 17 or 18, they're not similarly priced. I can tell you that much.
The price jump from like 17 to 18 or 17 to 19 is absurd.
Yes.
And you start getting into like 245, 255, those well-reviewed tires start getting really expensive.
The biggest tire you can buy in a 15 is that 245 that Maxxis makes one, and now Hankook makes that RS4, and I think Chaz paid like 130 and change.
That's perfect.
That's a fair price.
Yeah, that's a great option for a lot of people. Is the Maxxis? Josh ran the Maxxis last year, right?
Yeah.
Was he happy with them? Do you know?
Yeah, he was decently happy with them.
Okay, because the price point on those was similar, I think.
Yeah, they were not a very popular autocross tire. I think that they're better suited for HPDE.
Okay. Interesting.
Not very many people ran them like at a national level.
Gotcha.
Even though they were the widest tire you could get in that 15-inch range at the time.
Interesting.
Is that all we got on tires?
Yeah, I think so.
We went on a
Probably
wild
more
tangent.
My
than
diatribe on tires.
That's probably more than my tire knowledge. frankly.
Unscheduled rant on tires. Sorry about that, James. James, welcome to the show.
Good.
Again,
Thanks for
he's
being
our
here.
first reoccurring guest.
That is true, except for the lost Josh Fettis episode.
If you actually look at released episodes, he's our first reoccurring guest.
He is. So, James, you are the proprietor and racer for Kanga Motorsports. For those that didn't listen to the original episode that we put out with you, you race Spec Racer Ford in California.
Yep.
How
run number 77 in San Francisco region. So
long have you been doing that for?
this is my 4th year. I tend to do about 3/4 to 2/3 of the season, though. So
Okay.
yeah.
We talked about this
6.
previously, but does that season run the whole year?
So it runs from March to about October, but there's a couple of gaps in August, September, because the region supports the pro races at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. So our workers are the workers at Mazda Raceway. So.
Oh, okay. I got you. So you basically had your first race last weekend, and you had some preparations you had to do for that race. I'm curious to know, when you get your car back out, which, you don't put it away for very long, but what are you looking at when you get your car out to get it prepared for your first race?
Yeah, so between races, there's kind of maintenance you do, but at the end of the year, there's a fair bit of maintenance you can do or you can't do it, depending on how many events you run per year. Things people like to do is the half shafts, so they have a tripoid in them, and they have a CV joint, and so a lot of people will tear those apart, make sure those are wearing correctly so they're not all worn out and gouged, and repack the grease there. Some people will also redo caliper seals and potentially new pistons in the brakes, and then your usual maintenance like fluids, so flush your oil, coolant, brake fluid, do all that sort of stuff. I tend to do that, maybe between every 2 to 3 race weekends too, for brakes and stuff. And then oil, it just depends on how many events I run per year. Coolant's maybe a once a year kind of thing. But I might accidentally have to do my coolant because, I lose the radiator one race. So it may get done more often than that.
You don't have to flush your fluids because it does it automatically for you. You lose a coolant hose.
Yeah. Thanks to Thunderhill Raceway for collecting my radiator fluid or something like that. Yeah.
Did you have anything that you knew was wrong with the car then when you put it away?
So I always have a running list of little niggling items that I want to do over the, I guess winter, but it's not really winter here. But yeah, over, the off season. There was a couple of things on my car. I knew my throttle cable needed some attention, so I swapped that out. I also, where my brake bias adjuster was, it was kind of hard for me to comfortably reach and do it very fast, so I moved that. And then just, you check things like your belts, make sure the dates aren't going to go out. Check the fire bottle is still charged and it's still in the good range. And then also just, my car is, it's probably 30 years old now. I think it was built in mid to late 80s. And so I've had a bunch of electrical issues over time. So we've swapped out different wiring, and I've cleaned up the wiring throughout the season. So this year in the off season, I also did some spark plugs just to make sure all those are all good. So, try and get a baseline and set know where everything is. And then just go over the suspension and redo any setup, make sure nothing's all worn out, replace any rod ends and, things like that. Because, we use we're basically solid bearings on our car. We don't really have, rubber bushings or poly on our car. It's all solid joints.
That helps from a maintenance perspective, too.
Yeah. And then this year my helmet also expired, so I had to get a new helmet this year. So.
Oh, I forgot about that. I need to do that too. Crap.
Yeah, you got that grace period last year because went to the helmet.
Oh, you got an 05?
Yeah.
Can you run 15 years on autocross? Or
mine's done.
It's 10 years.
Well, no, I think whatever the autocross grace period is, I'm out.
Okay. Okay. I thought autocross gave you 5 more years.
They might, but then mine's a 2000.
I don't think they do.
You don't think so?
Because I remember when I was buying mine.
Yeah.
And I honestly can't remember the dates on it. I'm pretty sure you got the next year grace period or the 5-year grace period, but nothing past that.
Yeah, I know mine's out. I know that. Mine's really old. Like I junior drag raced with that.
Oh,
mine's
okay.
ancient.
So it's super old.
It's probably 2000 then.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's a Snell 2000.
Okay, that makes sense. Because I've got a 10.
Yeah, I think I got a 10 as well.
Okay, because when I bought it, it was 20. When did I buy that? 20. It may have been 2014, but I needed it, so it was kind of or it was 13. So it was before the 15s came out, but I needed it because I was doing a track day. So I was like, I have to bite the bullet and just buy it, even though the new one's going to be out soon.
Yeah, well, most of the new ones didn't even come out till last year anyway. They were late in 2015, so that's why they gave us a year off for last year because you couldn't get helmets. Yeah,
the 15s were late.
Yep.
Yeah, the 15s didn't come out till a good bit into 16. So the SCCA said your last Snell one will be good through the end of this year, but in 2017 you have to have the new last gen is gone.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
So then do you, James, have to replace, I guess, like seat belts and all that stuff as well?
Yeah, so they'll time out. SFI ones are, I think, 2 years, and you can get them rewebbed. And then FIA ones are 5 years, but you can't get them rewebbed. So I have some 2018 belts. So they'll be good next year, but then after that, I'll have to get new belts.
Yeah, that's something we don't have to worry about. No. Autocross, they're not concerned about date as long as they're in good physical condition. So
yeah, I think if they're all like cut up and wore, and then they make you change them, but other than that, you're good.
Starting to fray.
Mine are at least 10 years old in the Omni. So
well, even track days they don't say anything about it, but I've been wondering about that because I know the passenger set in the Fiat's really old. The driver set is not. It may just now be out of date, but belts are not that expensive.
No.
I can't remember. Something Gear is the name of the company. I think you can get like a full set of current belts for like $70 or $80, which really isn't bad at all. So I was wondering about changing out the driver belts and then swapping the driver to the passenger.
Well, for us, we're not terribly worried about date code. You go and find a guy like James.
Yeah, James, you want to sell me some belts?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when mine expire, I can probably hand them off to you guys.
Perfect.
That's what a lot of autocrossers that have belt setups in their cars do.
I actually ran Spec Racer Ford tires on the Fiat for a while because are you guys Goodyear or are there different manufacturers?
Okay, yeah. Up until last year, we were Goodyears. Now we're Hoosiers, so we're like 3 seconds faster a lot now.
Holy cow. That's quite a difference.
Yeah, so
they're also putting more loads on the bearings, so people are starting to see, bearing loading issues and wearing out wheel bearings and stuff like that a little bit faster.
But your front wheels, I think, are 13 by 5.5. Is that right?
Yeah, the fronts are narrower than the rears.
I think your backs are 7s.
Yeah, I think so.
But you run a square tire setup, though, don't you?
No, the Goodyears were square, so they were all the same size around. So they kind of like, stretched the fronts, but the Hoosiers are staggered, so the fronts are narrower than the rears. So which it actually balances out the car a lot better. So
yeah, because I could buy Spec Racer Ford tires because they would actually fit those goofy ass wheels that I have. They're a little taller, but I
think I have fit. 2 in my storage unit.
Spec Racer Ford tires?
No, they came off of a local Formula V car. But I think I have 2 that are the same size as a Hoosier.
Oh, okay.
The Formula V's are real narrow tires, though. So
He had a Super V or something like that. It runs a gas engine, but it's a Volkswagen engine.
yeah,
Or sorry,
yeah.
not a water cooled. Of course, it's gas. It's water.
Ran on propane.
He's got a TDI motor on there. That'd be kind of cool, actually.
A TDI Formula car would be kind of cool.
Yeah, it would be.
It would be totally counterintuitive because
It'd be
you get
funny
no
to watch
revs.
just rolling smoke.
Yeah.
Or rolling coal around the track.
Especially if you're in Iowa Speedway and when you're in the bowl and the smoke just starts coming down into the pits.
But it's one of the Bob Maurer, I think his name is, or something like that.
Yeah,
He's one of our regulars in the autocross area. He's got multiple Formula cars, but he gave me a set of tires, and the fronts are only 7 inches wide.
He may have been the one that told us to get Spec Racer Ford tires because he had a Fiat 124. And I don't know that he ever raced it, but he knew it had goofy ass wheels on it. So he's like, you should put Spec Racer Ford on because it's the same. It may have been him. I can't remember for sure. That was a long time ago, but he's an interesting dude.
He's got a lot of crazy stuff.
He's got a lot of crazy crap and different things and races. And he's probably I don't know how old he is, 65 or something.
Oh, no, I would guess he's in his 70s.
Really? It's just a crazy old race car, man.
We got a couple of those around
Which we
here.
can
I
only-
think all the regions do, but we have some really cool old guys.
We can
here.
only aspire to be crazy old race car men
Right? I
when
can't
we get to that
wait.
age.
That's my goal.
Exactly. So you got your car set up. You had a race last weekend. Where were you?
So I was at Thunderhill Raceway, which is up north of Sacramento along the 5, which is the main highway that runs up to Oregon. So it's about 3 hours or so from San Francisco Bay Area. So
Okay. And I don't know if last time we talked about the format of your race weekends. Walk people through how that works.
yeah, so there's a test day beforehand, which you don't have to do, but you can do. A lot of people do, a lot of people don't.
Did you?
It's mixed. Yeah, I tend to do them. It's good for me, especially. I'm still, always looking for time, so it's good for me, and it's also a good shakedown for the car, especially when you haven't run it for a few months. So you typically get about 4 to 5, 20 to 30-minute sessions. So it's much like a track day, and so you have different run groups, but you have to be in full race gear, race license only people, and no passengers and things like that. So
Is that on Friday then?
So that runs on Friday,
Okay.
all day. And then that evening, luckily, some of the fantastic SCCA workers show up, and so you can get registered early in the evening, and you can also get your car tech inspected. So we have to do an annual tech inspection, and my car needed it this year, so we kind of squeezed that in just as the sun was setting. And then the weekends for our region tend to be 2-day weekends for racing, and we have a warm-up practice early in the morning for about 20 minutes or so, and then we have about 25-minute qualifying, and then a 30 to 35-minute race, and then the next day we have another qualifying and then another race. So
What's the qualifying format?
just go out and set up the fastest time you want, so you can go out anytime in that time period for as long as you want. You can't go back paddock, change the car, and then come back out, but you can pull into the hot pits if you've got a buddy to help set tire pressures or whatever. But yeah, people tend to go out in groups, and depending on if we had to wait and grid or anything, there'll be a lot of bunched up people at the start, and some people will pull out and then just wait for clean air, or other people will run in pairs and see if they can get a draft and some things like that. So. And then from that qualifying, it's whoever, it's sorted by fastest lap time, and then that's how we're gridded up for the race.
And you said your races are about 30 minutes then?
Yeah, it's about 16 laps if it's clear, green, without any double yellows or anything. So we do a roll out with the pace car. Pace car keeps us in double file, and then we'll go out single file scrubbing tires, following that up, and then we'll bunch up double file before the last few turns, and then we do a rolling start. So we'll be in second or third gear, depending on the pace, waiting for the green flag to drop, and then everybody goes crazy. And then for our class, it tends to be about 2 to 3, possibly 4 cars wide into turns 1 and 2.
Holy cow.
Wow.
And then it starts to settle down. So this past weekend we had, I think it was like 4 cars wide in turn 1, 3 cars wide in turn 2, and then it kind of settled out to 2 cars wide all the way through turn 6, which is halfway around the lap before everybody started to space out.
That's pretty intense.
Race
You know?
starts
that's
terrifying.
the fun part. Yeah.
Pretty intense considering, you're not in like a chump car, so you don't really want to run into anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I had a new paint job on the car this year, so I really didn't want to hit anybody. So
Please don't run into me. Please don't run into me.
pretty much, yeah.
It looks great, by the way.
The car looks really
The
good.
car looks awesome this year.
Yeah, I really
Very
like,
excited.
Really
about
like
it.
the way the car looks. I actually went back and looked up how the car used to look, and it's amazing what just a paint change will do.
Yeah, so most people just inherit the paint job, but last year I had quite a big hit in Sonoma, and so most of the bodywork needed to be redone, and so that was my opportunity to do my own, livery for the car. So,
Didn't you base that on like a BRE car from back in the day or something like that?
yeah, so I have the Datsun 240Z project car, and I've always loved those kind of looking cars. So it's based on the BRE Datsun, but it's the blue version. Most people know the red version,
Yeah.
but it's the blue version. Yeah.
It looks good though. I was really excited to see it.
There's lots
So-
of 10/10 logos on it.
It's perfect.
It doesn't hurt it, that's for sure.
Yeah. I was surprised, I guess, that marketing must have worked at some level because people actually recognized our logo on his car.
It's weird. It's so weird. So
I'm
So
happy. That means people are looking at my car, so I'm happy.
yeah, that's true. So wasn't a completely event-free weekend for you. It sounds like. Did you have troubles in testing, or when did that start?
Yeah, so about the second session in the test, I lost my alternator belt, and so we weren't sure if it threw the belt just because it wasn't tight enough, or if there's kind of like a sweet spot. It has to be just tight, or just not too loose, but it can't be over tight, kind of thing. It'll throw the belt. And so we just adjusted it back up and went back out. And then the next session, it threw the belt again. And so we had a closer look and went over the alternator. And the alternator bearings were just bad. So I had to scrounge another alternator. But the good thing is with the Spec Racer Fords, there's a customer service representative always at the track. And so they have parts available at the track. And because we're running, grid sizes of, 20 to 30, possibly up to 40 cars, there's always parts available. So I was able to get an alternator, get that switched in, but in my haste to do that to get out to the next session, I'd accidentally swapped 2 of the smaller wires, and so the charging circuit wasn't working. So then I had to take it all out again and do that. So I missed one of the sessions there. But that went fine, got it working, and then by the end of the day, I had the car running great, and I was happy with it. So got it rushed to get it over to tech, so I didn't have to get it teched in the morning because we were going to be out very early for our practice. In hindsight, I should have checked a few things. So I got it over to tech, had it all tech inspected, and in the morning I came back to check on the car, and I found a bad wheel bearing on the front left. So I had to get a wheel bearing done on the front left. So luckily, the guy I run with, Rick, he's a great guy, CSR Performance. He has a press and some tools in the trailer, and so I was able to get a new wheel bearing pressed in and get the car back up and running. But it meant, disassembling the front corner, pressing out the old wheel bearing, putting that all back together. So I missed the early morning practice then. So then I got out to qualifying. Everything seemed okay, but I started having a misfire. But it kind of cleared itself up after 1 or 2 laps, so it was hard to try and track that down. And then for the race, everything was great. I ended up qualifying 7th, and then I moved up to 5th by the end of the race. So I had a good race 1. And then come Sunday, the car was cutting in and out. So the car just died on qualifying 2. Like halfway through a turn, the car just, all power got lost. It just cut out. And then I kind of like clutch bump started it again, and it fired back up, and then it did it again. And so then I, parked it. So I didn't really get a good qualifying time for qualifying 2. Somehow I still managed to qualify 7th for that one, but I wasn't sure how. And then what SCCA does is they allow you to run a hardship lap. So we went over the car. I think I found the source of what the misfire was. There was a corroded connection in one of the coil packs. And so I checked that over, cleaned that all out, and that seemed to run fine. But I couldn't find where it was cutting out. And that normally typically is, either a fuel starvation kind of thing, or it felt more like an electrical cut. And so that wouldn't just be a single plug wire. That would kind of be, a ground or all the signals to the coil. So we swapped a few things out, cleaned up a few things, and then I went and did a hardship lap, which is basically they let you run from the front pits all the way to, pit at the back, just between different sessions. And just so we think we had sorted the car out, and I was pretty happy. And so I went to turn into turn 1, and the car just died. And then I got it fired back up again and got it running, and died again in turn 6. And then I, finally coasted it home, got it back into the pits, and started, pulled all the bodywork off again and started looking for electrical shorts. We checked, you do the wiggle test where, you run in the car in the pits and you wiggle the wires just to see if anything cuts out or what, what's causing it. Because, at speed you're doing, stuff's bumping and moving around. But couldn't find anything, so we decided to change the relay. So there's a fuel relay and an ignition relay. So we changed both relays there, hoping that would fix it. Looked over the master, made sure everything was good there, and then I cleaned up any of the wiring that I thought might be suspect for like a grounding issue. And then got to grid for race 2. Was running good for about 4 or 5 laps. And then the car just died again in turn 6, and I saw the lead pack just disappear away into the distance. So coasted again, got it bumped with the clutch start again, and then got running again, and then it died again. And so the next lap it died 2 more times. And so that was kind of, it was kind of getting a little iffy about when the car was going to do it. And there were some competitors behind me, and I didn't want, one of them collecting me because the car just dies mid-corner or stuff. So I decided to pull in and check over the car and then try and work out what's going on. So that's where we are today, trying to find out what's happening with the car.
So when you get home, do you just work in your garage and then take it up and down the street, or do you actually have a place that you can test and tune, I guess is the best way to describe it?
So my car, because I don't have anywhere to store it or right now, or a trailer myself, the guy tows it to his shop, so I'll go up to his shop and work on the car there. And so we suspect it might be the main engine wiring harness, which we had recently replaced. But that
been there.
Don't get us started on wiring harnesses. This is the wiring harness show.
Yeah, that or the ECU, or there's some sort of short there. The interesting thing is that it ran fine that race 1, so I'm trying to think of what did I change between race 1 and the next day. And so, it's just a matter of, going over the car and checking everything. Symptoms tell you certain things, and then, from there you can kind of work out where it might be located, but still plenty of work to do.
I thought that those were carbureted. Is that fuel injected then if you have an ECU?
Yeah, they're fuel injected. Yeah,
okay.
The old 1.9 liter Ford Escort motors.
Oh, I thought that they were.
That motor's changed though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
okay.
the next Gen 3, they call it, they have a new 1.6 liter Ford motor that produces 135 horsepower. Ours is 105, so there's about 35 more horsepower and about 100 pounds out of the car.
Oh, man,
wow.
that's
Oofed.
significant.
Yeah.
When you step up to that, is that something everybody has to do?
Yeah, so next year this year is the last year where it's a nationally competitive class, so it's the last year that it will be eligible for national events and at the SCCA runoffs, and next year it will go to region-only class. So our region tends to have about 10 to 12 of these cars, so we could still keep racing in our region, but we wouldn't be able to compete at the national level. And the problem with that is next year the nationals are at Sonoma Raceway, which is in our region, and that would be nice to compete at. So if I want to run that, I'm going to have to upgrade the car in the off season. So,
do you think that's something you're going to do then?
I'm looking at it. It's quite a bit of change. So the kit to upgrade is about $14,000.
Oh, wow.
And when I bought my car, the car itself was like $13,000. So it's like buying another car. So
yeah, that's a bummer.
What's the cost of a new one? Just out of curiosity.
Depending on who does the assembly, like it comes in a kit and stuff, I think it's $38,000 for the kit, and then it's maybe I want to say another $4,000 or $5,000 to do all the assembly work, and then you've got paint and a few other belts and a few other things to throw in there. So they're better. You're better off buying, like any race car. You're better off buying used. So someone else has already taken the hit. So
I wouldn't have expected that motor was that expensive. I suppose it's a transmission too, but
yeah, it's the full kit, like new hoses, new lines, the oil cooling system's different, the intake, the exhaust, all of the airbox is all different. So it's a full kit with all the mounts and stuff. It's not just the motors. So I think the motors run about $4,500 just by themselves. So there's a bunch of stuff in the kit.
Wow,
that comes along with it. Clutch, everything like that. So
yeah, I suppose that stuff adds up when it's all new.
Yeah, I mean, just talking about fittings and hoses and
oh
stuff,
yeah, absolutely.
That stuff adds up real quick.
So when's your next race?
So the April Fool's weekend will be a national level race. That'll be at Thunderhill again, and so that'll have the best racers from the West Coast. So anywhere from Washington, Oregon, and California will be driving at that event. So
Gotcha. So you got a little bit of time to try to sort out this electrical issue, but it sneaks up on you quick.
Not a lot, though. It's
not a lot of
weeks.
time, and I don't always have time during the week to go to the shop. So I've been busy with work, so I'm kind of balancing that. So I think what I'm going to have to do is have Rick do a bunch of the work for me this time around, just because I don't have a lot of time. So
story of our lives.
Yeah, understandable.
Between work life and personal life, race car ends up on the back burner more often than I'd like to admit.
It does.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hobby for fun, right? So yeah, you gotta.
That's what I keep telling myself.
Out.
Fun.
It's supposed to be
This
fun,
is
Adam.
So much fun.
It's the most fun I've ever had. Well, so I hope Rick can get that stuff sorted out before that next race, especially since your competition's going to be steeper.
Yeah, there'll be a test day beforehand, and I think that's where we'll probably try and get the car sorted. So,
absolutely.
So I got a couple questions for you about tracks that you get to race over there.
Yep.
So Thunderhill, I know that a while ago they did a big upgrade, and they lengthened that track significantly, didn't they?
Yeah. So there's a west and an east now.
Which course do you run?
We run the original east course.
Okay. Have you ran the long one?
Yeah. So it's a little over. They call it the 5 mile, but it's like 4.2 or so miles. We ran that the first weekend that was open. The region ran that.
Isn't that one of the longer tracks in the country?
Yeah, it's a long track. So when you have a double yellow lap, it kind of takes you a long time.
So is that the config they run in the 25-hour race then?
No, they run the east side, which is the standard configuration, which is 2.6 or so miles. So they call it a 3 mile, and
Right.
that's the one we typically run. So that has 15 turns in total.
There's a lot of elevation to that track, isn't there?
Yeah, so turn 5 has an up and over where it's like a blind crest. But for the
so
25-hour, they run a bypass, and so it's not so much of a blind crest, but it's still kind of blind. And then turn 9 has another blind crest on it, and it's to the opposite direction, and then that's a high-speed turn. So
Okay, so then Sonoma. I have a couple questions on that one because you get to race that, and that's like one of my favorite tracks to drive, like when I'm messing around on video games and stuff. I know that course as well has a couple of configurations. Which one do you normally get to run?
So we run the long road course. So the NASCAR, they run the chute where they don't do the carousel, which is turn 6, where you come in on the inside and there's that left-hand turn, long
left hand, like downhill turn.
Yeah.
So NASCAR does not run that.
NASCAR doesn't run that. We do.
Pansies.
And then there's the back straight. We run the full length of that, like Chump and a few other racing leagues won't run that. They'll turn that hairpin early, so it gives you a little bit more runoff. So
that just seems like one of the most interesting tracks to me.
It's really technical and challenging because every section of it sets you up for the next section. So if you get into a bad rhythm, you lose a lot of time very quickly.
Yeah, and it's a very varied track. There's a lot of different, like it's very different sections. Each section has its own feel, and it's hard. I think it'd be a real hard track to master.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we only do it once a year, so it's even harder to. Good thing it's on Forza though, so you can drive it
exactly.
a lot more.
And then, have you ran on Laguna Seca?
Yeah, we run Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca about 3 times a year. So I don't run all the races every year, so maybe I'll do 1 or 2 Laguna weekends. So
Corkscrew, truly the most epic corner on the planet.
Yeah, so Corkscrew is a fantastic corner, but it's not the hardest corner. The hardest corner is like the one after it.
Yeah, I could see that.
So because the one after, you're a lot more speed and stuff. I mean, everyone loves the Corkscrew, but it's not that challenging to turn.
Is that one of those where you like feel it in your stomach, like when it drops away, like a roller coaster almost?
Yeah, and then my car will bottom out on the on the down. So you got a story drop where everything goes light, and then when you get to the bottom, everything compresses. So
man, that'd be so cool.
It would be cool
to the West Coast for like a year. Just drive all these crazy tracks they have over there.
You'd never come back.
I don't know if I could handle California long term.
Adam is like anti-California.
I'm very anti-California. Not that I don't like the people there. It's just there's some things about
like he means stereotypical California lifestyle. You know what I mean? It's not. Look at him.
It's not my life.
Robbie's looking at me, giving me this weird look. But look at Adam.
But then, like,
you think he would fit in
like
California?
we have a guy at work that came from California, and like especially when my hair was quite a bit longer, he's like, I can't believe that you're not, the California surfer kid, like that. You just look that. I'm like, I'm too Midwest, man. I've been here too long. It's just.
You don't want to eat tofu, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. It's not going to go well for
They
me.
have cows there. Don't worry.
So.
Yeah, I'm not that I'm Australian, so we're always eating a lot of meat. So.
Perfect.
Oh man!
You guys want to move on and do some news?
Yeah,
Sure.
Let's do the news presented by Titan Fuel Tanks. What do we got, Robbie?
All right, we'll start this off with Top Gear has chosen the Toyota GT86 for their star in a reasonably priced car segment.
Find this bizarre, don't you?
Actually, I think it's a really good move.
I like the car, and especially since it's basically in every market under a different name, of course. But it's not a reasonably priced car.
It is not a reasonably priced car.
Compared to everything else they've had.
I suppose that, those have all been way cheaper.
Everything else they've had, the highest priced car was 17,000 pounds, and everything else was like 10,000 pounds. And this one's like 27,000 pounds. So it's
To star in a car,
a
then, is what
mid-sized price car. So
yeah, well, it used to be like an Econo box, right? And now it's not an Econo.
That to me, I thought was part of the joke. Is like they put him in a stupid Econo box
A
car,
really cheap car.
and make him go as fast as possible on a racetrack. Like that's the joke. It's stupid.
Yeah, I
I
love
guess-
the Formula One guys running in the Liana, was it?
Yeah, but damn, they were fast in that car.
Yeah.
I suppose when you start to talk about it that way, I think I might not be as into it as like at first I was like, finally they're in a real car, like this will be better that way. But like when you put it that way, like it was, it was the joke, and they were in this pile of shit car, like Now I'm not
It's
quite
not
so sure
It's not
how I
funny.
feel about
It's
it.
not funny anymore. Now it's kind of serious.
Yeah, it'll be more competitive, and I think you're going to get a bunch. People are going to actually have to be able to drive because it's 200 horsepower. It's rear wheel drive. They have a cage in it, race seats, and like they ripped out all the interior. So I mean, it's not just a car anymore. It's kind of a
Race car.
Yeah, it's not race prepped, but I mean, it's more race car than before. You're going to get people in there like Cameron Diaz or like all those other people that have done it in the past. They're not going to be very good in this type of car. They're going to slide into the wall.
They couldn't keep the thing they had pointing the right direction a lot of times.
Well, that's a good point because on the old front-wheel drive cars, if you understeer, I mean, no harm, no foul, there's nothing to hit, but if you oversteer that GT86 excessively, you're just going to spin around in circles. You know, at least
make for better TV, right? I mean,
yeah, maybe that's what they're after. Is they bought 20 of them and
they're just going to crash them into tires.
They're expecting it to be carnage.
I've always joked that if I won the lottery, I would build my own track and have a leaderboard like that, and that was the car I would use. So, but I kind of had it put more in my head that it'd be car guys, friends of mine, that would be coming to this and doing that, not rich and famous people.
What are you saying, James?
Sorry, Skype delay there kind of got me.
No, you were.
I'm wondering if Toyota paid some money for it, because they have been pushing that car in advertising and things like that. So I wonder if there was a deal made.
Would not surprise me.
It hasn't done well in like the last year or two. Everybody that bought one when it came out that wanted one bought one, and then everybody now is starting to pick up the used ones. And I think the market for the new one is getting smaller and smaller. Yeah. So
should be up on a refresh cycle here soon, you'd think.
I always thought they were neat cars. I like the way they look. I know some people say, "Oh, they're boring and stupid," but I like the way they look. I think I like it for the potential of what it could be. I would never buy one stock and go, "This is what I want in a car."
Yeah,
I'd be like, "No, I want the shell of this car so I can put a real engine in it and some real wheels."
When I said the other day that it's the new S chassis, I was
You're not joking.
It is.
I completely agree.
It's still too expensive though.
15 years from now, that's going to be the S chassis.
LT swapping those.
The new LT.
Well, LT4 and LT1 swapping them. Yep. So I don't know. I think it's too serious.
I can't imagine that Toyota didn't at least give them to them, if not pay something for it, though.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, it gets away from what they were accomplishing the first time around for however many years they were doing it. But
right, I know the show's different now, so maybe they're just taking a different approach to it. But
things need to change a little.
Star in a car for how long though? Because they're going to sell off all that land and redevelop
Get rid of that track.
Yep.
Maybe they're just going to do it for another year or two and call it a day. Going out with a bang.
Like Ian proved, if it was a Vauxhall, you guys wouldn't know what it was. So
I didn't know what half the ones they had were to begin with.
You don't know what a Suzuki Liana is?
No, that's not a car I'm familiar with, actually. Or a C
Kia
apostrophe
Ceed.
D.
The Seed.
Did we get that as a car?
I don't think
that
we got
wasn't
any of
called
those.
that.
I don't know. In the depths of the Kia boring lineup, I have no idea.
Is that a car we got as a Kia? I don't know.
I have no idea. I don't know much about the Kia lineup.
Wasn't there a third one? Or is it
There's like
those
4.
two?
Yeah, I think there were 4.
Is there?
This would be the 5th one, I think, if I remember correctly.
Well, they used a Mini Cooper last year.
I wasn't even counting that
Oh,
one.
I forgot about yeah.
Because they had that rally cross course, quote unquote.
Yeah.
I didn't watch last season. I still haven't watched it yet.
I watched a
I
couple.
haven't watched it yet. Yeah.
That's saying something.
Yeah.
I think that's it on this one, Robbie.
Yeah. We can move on. So the World Rally Championship cancels a stage in Mexico Rally because nobody got their car to the second stage.
So this was just a really weird deal to me. Like, because they did this stage downtown
In Mexico City.
which kind of looked like a
Publicity stunt?
Yes.
a Gibcana event.
Yeah, but definitely for publicity.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad thing. I'm
No.
not knocking them for that.
World Rally probably needs to do stuff like this more often.
That's
because it's a
probably true.
very bad spectator sport. Rally in general. As much as I love rally and I think it's awesome and I wish it was more popular.
Which is stupid because when it was on Speed Channel when I was 10 years old, like if it would have been on for 24 hours straight, I would have watched it for 24 hours straight.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's hilarious what those guys can do.
I think that rallying is better to watch on TV than it is in real life.
Oh, yeah, I'll give you that.
For the average person.
For sure. Unless you're like really hardcore, you want to stand in the woods
Yeah.
and freeze your ass off.
Yeah.
TV's the way to watch it.
Yeah. So they probably need to do stuff like this more.
Special stages.
Yeah. Interesting things.
Yes. So basically, I think I don't have it in front of me. I did on the computer, but we have it on Skype. But I think it's set up and it takes like a handful of days. So the first night is like Thursday night. So they'll do this spectator thing in Mexico City where, it's downtown, which I thought was really strange. They didn't have any lights. Like if you watch the video, they didn't have a bunch of lights above it. It's just them in the dark. If anything, they turned off all the street lights and it was darker than it should have been. So you got all these people watching in the middle of the night doing this Gymkhana race. And then after that, they were supposed to truck all these cars, I think, what was it, like 300 kilometers to
Yeah, 250
Leon.
miles, to Leon.
And then they were supposed to start stage 2. And then they got caught in a traffic jam because of an accident. Not a single car made it to Leon.
What kind of shitty accident happens where they were saying there was I think it was the Hyundai team, was still 186 miles away.
The next day at 7 in the morning.
At the morning, when they were supposed to be there ready to go, they were still 180 miles away.
Isn't Mexico kind of like known
You guys
for
live
that?
in Iowa. You don't know what traffic is.
Yeah, we don't know what
Mexico.
traffic
Yeah,
is.
Mexico City is much worse than LA. Was my understanding.
Yeah, it's like way more people. It's one of the most populous cities in the world.
So this was not planned out super well.
There should have been, if it's that bad, somebody should have said, maybe this isn't a good idea, or maybe we can do
Let's
something
get some
different.
helicopters and like fly them,
Or maybe have the first stage closer.
2 days
Yeah.
away. Maybe
250 miles is a long way, even in Iowa, would still take you 4 or 5 hours, if you're steady hauling.
And that's packing up a whole race effort
Yeah.
into these giant semi trucks and then hitting the road with them. Like even in the middle of nowhere, Iowa, where we live, that's still quite an undertaking.
Takes effort. Assuming nothing goes wrong,
yeah,
you'll be all right.
So do you guys follow World Rally Championship?
not closely.
Do you know how many stages are in Mexico? Like for their race?
No.
19.
Oh Jesus!
Wow.
19 stages.
But there's more than one stage a day after that.
I think
isn't
so.
There?
I think this day
quite
there
a
was supposed to
few.
2
be.
to 3.
Yeah, this day was supposed to be 2 stages.
Nope.
Stage 2 and 3, I think, were supposed to happen that day, and they had to cancel both of them.
Yeah. That's a crazy amount of racing split up over a long period of time.
Agreed.
It'd be so
Should
much
you
fun.
break something?
Yeah,
You always break something, I think.
yeah, especially in rally. That's
Yeah, but those
not
guys
if,
don't.
But when?
Those guys don't stop though. That's the difference.
Yeah.
If they break something, they just keep going,
It'll fix itself probably.
or it'll leave them in a ditch, and then they'll figure it out. I think that's it on that one too,
I
Robbie.
think so. Then we'll move on to James Glickenhaus proposes an end to all the Nurburgring record drama. And I love it.
It's a brilliant idea, actually.
It'll never happen.
It needs
never
to happen.
ever. There's no way that all these manufacturers are going to be in on this. No way.
So what he's proposing is a race during the he proposed during the Le Mans weekend.
The 20. They have a 24 hours
Le
of
Mans.
Nurburgring.
Yep, sorry. So he proposed to have all these manufacturers come out with their vehicles, and then they have a sanctioned time trial, really, and then they can set whoever has the best,
Lap time.
Nurburgring record holder.
On the same day, though,
Yes.
under the same
Same
conditions.
conditions.
Nurburgring time attack.
The other trip about this is that they have to drive from Cologne to the Nurburgring on a set of tires and then run that set of tires
I
when
think
they
it's
get there.
wonderful because Adam and I actually were kind of arguing about this week because we were talking about the Neo. I can't think what that's called.
the EP9.
Yeah,
the
that-
car we talked about a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, the electric car.
Yep, how that got the record on racing slicks made specifically for that car. And I'm like, asterisk, doesn't count. That's not street tires. And then
That's what Zonda did with the Zonda R.
And see,
and all that. I mean, there's a lot of cars that have done that.
I think they need
I'm
to.
not disagreeing that it's wrong.
I think we need to. In general, need to define what a production car is on the Nurburgring to allow for records. Like if you have,
Yeah, 'cause-
you get Lamborghini showing up and saying, "Oh, we got this crazy record," but trust us, we did it under these conditions with these tires. Don't worry, just trust us.
How
It's
many-
all bullshit.
Volkswagen Group.
How many days were they there? Or, how many different days were they there to try to get that time?
And how many different sets of tires, and what conditions were, whatever.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, too. Like, what are these tires? Are these special tires? Or are they street tires? What are these quotes?
Yeah.
Air quotes.
Yeah,
Because you can say we're running, because on the Huracan, the Performante, I think is what it was called, they said they were running Trofeo Rs. It's like, yeah, but what kind of Trofeo Rs? Like, can I go down to Tire Rack and get these? Or are these special, go to Pirelli and say, hey, I need some slicks that look like...
Yeah, they
Isn't the Trofeo R street tire the same as the A7 is a street tire?
probably.
I-
it probably has enough tread to go one lap, and then they're done.
Well, then their claim was, yes, it's a street tire or it's a
DOT.
production tire because you can order it with the car. So therefore, we can set the lap on it.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, the Performante from Lamborghini, they took it to the Nurburgring and they set a lap time of something absolutely stupid. Was it 6:52, which was faster than the 918
The 918 Spider, the
by
Porsche,
5 seconds.
which is huge.
That's a lot of
Huge
time.
gap. And then there's all this controversy about what tires are they using, and they're like, well, the Speedo was GPS based and not wheel speed based, and it's like, okay, is the record real? Is it not real? And so that's
I don't see what the wheel speed versus GPS.
I
that
didn't
one-
get that either.
To me, wouldn't GPS be better, more accurate than wheel speed? Because wheel speed wouldn't take into account like
going
tire
light.
spin?
Yeah, yep. No, I agree. I think the point they were trying to make is that you couldn't manipulate the Speedo if it was wheel speed, but I disagree with that. Like, you can manipulate anything anymore.
I feel like a standard GPS one would be less. You'd have less ability to manipulate, and it'd be more accurate and more standardized across all
It
manufacturers.
would definitely be standardized. Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, that's how they do world speed records. You know, they have that V box or whatever, and that goes in the car, and it doesn't matter what the speedometer says. Whatever that box says is your time or your speed.
Yeah, I think that what that's happening though is they're all using different boxes. You know, when you're using a standard box, that's fine, but when they're using different boxes, then that's the problem.
AIM should step up, be like, "Hey, we got this. Just stick it in your car.
Call
Be
it good.
fine."
So I was thinking about this. So
Okay.
Glickenhaus needs to team up with Guinness. They'll have this racing series where they go around the world on all these tracks, and one weekend everyone gets to bring their cars and they can set the lap records, and then
That's a great idea.
That'll be the defining lap record, and it'll be official because it'll be in Guinness. And you know what we're going to call it? Stock car racing. Because they're going to be stock cars.
He has a point.
Robbie's just fixed all of racing.
I think Robbie just fixed NASCAR, which is our next topic, but that's an interesting point. But you could do it. You could do it everywhere. You could do it at Laguna Seca.
Yeah.
Because there was the whole thing about the
Circuit of
ACR.
Americas.
You know, and the 918 at Laguna Seca and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, you could do that. You could literally do that all year.
And they could have a, you know, because there's lots of tracks that, like Spa,
Yeah.
that's what Koenigsegg holds the current production record for that track.
And they've had problems at Nurburgring, actually be getting out
but he's
there.
like, you know, we're coming back. We're going to take it. But when they get there, it's going to be controversial. It's going to be. You just know it.
I think it's a great idea. I think it's perfect. You got one window. If you guys are going to, you know, brag about your times, this is the day.
Yeah,
We're doing it.
Yep, they got to set up rules on what type of tires you can use. I mean, you can set up the car for the track. That's fine. No, don't do that because then that's not stock.
No, but you have to
gotta
drive
argue.
there. You
Well,
have to
you
drive.
can set up the car within the limitations of the car itself.
Yes.
If your suspension allows for some adjustability in camber and toe and caster and things like that, fine, do it.
The problem, you know what the problem would be though, would be Ferrari
Yeah,
would cheat on their programming
they would.
because that's what they do. I mean, that's
we've
documented.
established
Chris
that.
Harris has proved that that's the case.
Yeah.
You'll have everybody upping their engine outputs for 1 hour and things like that.
Everybody has to go through a rolling dyno.
Yep.
I like you have to drive it from a predetermined location to the track, get on the track and race it. I really like that part of it.
We could also have a rally.
You could have a rally.
Oh, this is
It could be a whole thing. You could sell sponsorship for the rally. You could sell sponsorship for the race.
Then when McLaren goes, "Oh, we don't want to participate in it," well, someone who has a McLaren can.
yeah.
You guys are giving away all your business ideas right now.
We've
we
fixed many racing
So many
associations'
times.
problems, and nobody wants to listen to us.
Yep.
We've got no phone calls about this so far, especially from Monster NASCAR.
Speaking of Monster NASCAR, you want to finish this off with
Sure.
NASCAR news? NASCAR wants to add mufflers to enhance the viewer experience during races.
Ask Formula One how quiet our cars have gone for the viewer experience.
Ask Formula E how well quieter cars have gone for the viewer experience.
Don't want it.
And then you have, you know, the stereotypical NASCAR fan, which I don't, you know.
That was
Louder. They want
yeah.
it louder.
That was the whole point of that article too. Is like, okay, so they're claiming NASCAR and their infinite wisdom of fixing things. They're claiming that millennials would like. That's what it said.
They said millennials.
Damn
It
it,
said
we
millennials.
talk about generations so much.
That's why we don't do well on Car Throttle. It says we're all millennials, though. To be clear,
I know that's
James is the
thing,
same
like,
age as us.
Like people, like, oh, you're talking shit about we are them.
We're not the problem. Maybe it's them, the shit talkers.
Well, it is
just a thought. Just a thought.
Probably is.
Yep. Okay. So anyway, they're saying millennials would like to be able to chat with one another at a race while they're watching it.
They
And
want to text. It doesn't matter.
Well, see, they don't know millennials then.
You know, it doesn't matter how loud it is when I'm texting the guy next to me.
I'm just telling you what they said. It's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. It's completely nonsensical. There was a meeting where many people, probably in their 50s, thought, yes, if young people could talk to one another during a race, then they would be more inclined to buy tickets.
Yeah, they think this is going to attract new viewers
And not alienate old
but not kick out
viewers.
old viewers that are enjoying the races as they are.
Bush Light and hot dogs and
I think it's going to do exactly the opposite of
think
both of those things.
Yes.
I think it will too.
Yeah.
I'm the only thing I can think of is why this would even come up is I think the owners or whoever's on this board are a bunch of people that don't give a shit about racing or NASCAR in general. They're just trying to make money. So they're going to a race. They're like, this is fucking loud.
That's loud as shit here.
I've never been to this. This is loud. You know, this would be better if I could talk to you over this caviar.
in their box.
Yeah, and up in the box, and they have no clue. Like the fans down there, that's the whole point. That's the experience. I want to feel that car drive past me from 100 feet away. I want to have to wear earplugs.
I looked it up. It's 96 decibels.
I think it's even louder than that, actually.
That's what they're claiming is 96 currently for an average
such a
average spectator.
I thought it was 115.
115.
That's what I read.
Holy cow!
115 is loud.
You be
It
deaf.
is loud. That's why you wear.
loud.
That's why you wear plugs.
Said the drag racer. Why can't I run open
Drag
headers?
Racer X SPL stereo competition.
Why can't I run open headers on everything I own then? If 115 decibels is acceptable.
It's acceptable in a race scenario.
Yeah,
it's
that's what I'm
not
saying.
acceptable driving down the street when my 1-year-old's trying to sleep.
Well, I'm just saying, like I'm trying to figure out how to build this exhaust for my car, and I don't have to do that if that's the case.
Don't.
Okay, perfect.
To heck with it.
Problem solved. Yeah. It's just drifting.
So
Just straight pipes all the way.
No, I'm not even going to do
Zoomies.
that. It's too
Zoomies.
much. No, it's too much fabrication. It's too much welding.
I was looking at the exhaust that they have now, and it's basically headers to a pipe that connects to I don't know, it's like a flat tube thing that goes out the sides, like not like zoomies, but you know what I mean?
In front of the rear wheel.
In front of the rear
Right?
wheels. And I think they're calling boom tubes, is what they're called. I think that's like the unofficial name, but obviously they're loud as shit. And they're going to try to fit a muffler under this car that's 1.5 inches off the ground. Good luck. You're going to have to completely refabricate a design of a muffler. So you're starting from scratch. These already don't have catalytic converters. So, I mean, I don't understand why they're not pushing that first. Oh, we want mufflers. To hell with the cats and all the O2 issues and all that stuff.
Are you saying you're worried about the environment with these cars?
No, but I'm just saying, like, out of all the
You've changed, Robbie.
out of all the directions that they're pushing this for, like viewership and noise, I'm shocked that they're not pushing for emission or environmental stuff first.
That would appeal more to millennials than
Hybrid NASCARs.
That would never work. But
there's too much technology involved with that. Let's not get carried
They
away.
just got rid of carburetors.
One thing at a
Slow
time
down.
here. Yeah.
Let's try and get to a single wheel nut first. How about?
it just shocks me that that's not the direction they're going to try to push it, because people actually probably get on board with that. If you're like, we're very bad to the environment with the setup we have now. If we put cats on it, it'll make it a little quieter or whatever, and it'll be better in general. And but no, they're just like, mufflers. That'll fix everything.
Perfect. Problem solved.
And then from an engineering standpoint, if you add mufflers, you have to completely redesign the exhaust. You restrict flow going out.
Yep.
That would mean you have to redesign stuff on the front end, like the intake, because they already choke them out to reduce power.
It's hard to say. I think they have a standard number they're all supposed to make, and however they get there, I think is relatively okay.
Yeah,
I don't know if they're using restrictor plates or just good engineering.
Yeah, I think they haven't really thought about this at all. They're like, we'll just put mufflers on it. It has to be done by next week, and they're not taking into account what it's going to take to actually make this work on the cars they have, work with the designs they have. I think it's going to be a much bigger undertaking. It's going to cost them more money than they're willing to spend.
I don't think it's going to gain anything.
It won't gain anything.
I don't
They'll
understand
lose
what
money.
they think they're going to get. It doesn't make any sense.
Complete waste of time.
Yes.
I know we've kind of been beating that NASCAR drum here lately, but they just make so many weird and stupid decisions.
That's what happens when you get a person in charge that doesn't truly understand the passion and the racing itself, I think.
I want to like NASCAR. You know, I want it to be successful. I want it to continue because it's a big mainstream motorsport, which is something that, you know, in America we don't have in any other form.
And
Right.
I'm sure someone's going to message us and say, well, actually, the owner is this prestigious race guy from far back that cares more about racing than you ever will. And maybe that's true. It just doesn't show that way. It's like from a spectator watching the sport, it's like, owners don't care. All they care about is money. They don't care about the sport. And that's how it's coming across to me.
James, as an Australian, how do you feel about NASCAR? Do you think it's stupid?
So I saw it at Sonoma, and at Sonoma, it's impressive on the road course. You know, those cars going 2 and 3 wide into turn 2 there in Sonoma. It's impressive, and the sound, and I actually like it. You know, we have the V8 supercars in Australia too. It's kind of a little bit similar to that kind of thing, but you know, I enjoyed it when I went to see it. The time I went to Sonoma. So
You think you would have enjoyed it at an oval, though?
I don't know. I've never actually been to like a super speedway, but I think it would be impressive just to see the speeds they're doing. And I know, you know, everyone jokes about, you know, turning left and all they're doing is turning left kind of thing. But what I understand, you know, looking at IndyCar and stuff, in order to get a good lap turning at those speeds, you have to be so precise. It's amazing what they're actually doing in the cockpit.
Oh, without a doubt.
They're so close to each other, and
They are close. It's very turbulent, too.
I mean, they have spotters because they can't see, you know, they can't see who is above them and below them. They have to have spotters kind of thing, you know. That, you know, trusting the guy on the radio to let you know where another guy is, you know, as a racer, that's real hard for me to comprehend.
I think circle track stuff is a lot more exciting than a lot of people will give it credit. It is fun to watch. I mean, just on a competition level, it's interesting. It's exciting. I see the appeal. As a competitor, I don't know that that's what I want to do, but as a spectator, I get it.
I think they just need to stop messing with it. You know, they're
there's
trying
some
to,
things that need to be changed, but they're not changing those things.
they're trying to change things to make it bigger. You know what I mean? They're not trying to change things to make it safer or to, you know, name anything else. They're just trying to make more money off of it. Every time we've seen something that they want to change, it's just, you know, can we get more money? Hey, if we bunch them up every 20 minutes to cause a crash, that'll make it more interesting and more people will come watch it. You know, that's not safe. It's not a safety thing. It's not improving the sportsmanship of it. It's just trying to turn it into more of a spectacle so that more people will buy tickets. And you have to do that to some extent, but like don't ruin the sport or what it is as a result.
So I was kind of thinking about this to myself last week. It seems that the longer a race series is active, the farther it gets away from what it started as, in the pursuit of going faster and faster and faster and faster. And I think at some point that speed doesn't really make any difference to the spectator. Like, I don't know what exact speeds are in NASCAR, but let's say, just, you know, for the sake of conversation, right now on the average super speedway they do 220. Would it really be that big a deal if they were only doing 180 to the spectator?
I don't know. I've not seen the difference.
And then, because at those slower speeds, those cars could be more like the car you and I could buy, because the level of technology that is required to make a Dodge Charger do 220 miles an hour around Daytona could not be done on the stock chassis, most likely.
I would rather watch what you're going to say, which is actual stock cars. Again, going back to the stock car concept, I would rather watch that because that's more relatable.
Yeah, and so I wonder if, like...
Yeah, but then touring car is not that popular. I mean, there's still British touring car, and there is, you know, and German DTM kind of thing, you know.
DTM, I think, is pretty like space frame out of control too.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but like I think they all use like engines that we don't get. They use like these little bitty little bitty V8s that don't really exist and stuff like that.
Oh, the 3-liter, 4-liter V8.
Yeah.
I always thought the problem with like British Touring Car Championship was they take like a 2-liter Chevy Cruze. It's like,
But that's relatable though, isn't it?
yeah, but it's if I'm a speed freak and I like, shit that goes fast and, just blatant horsepower and V8s and that sort of nonsense, I'm not going to be open to buying a Chevy Cruze.
Yeah.
I think that's why NASCAR was popular in the 60s because, you could go out and buy a
Roadrunner or whatever.
Yeah, or a Daytona or whatever, and it was a V8 and it was loud and it was ridiculous and it did huge burnouts and it was wayward and stupid and it was kind of that whole, I don't know if you want to call it a lifestyle, but it was kind of that whole package. If I go out and buy a Chevy Cruze because I watched it on BTCC, I'm going to be disappointed in the car because it's not a performance car.
So if you look at like drag racing, you look way back in the day, a lot of those cars that were built off of original cars, and that's what grew drag racing. And now it is to where it is today, where these funny cars that use these 10,000 horsepower Hemi motors that have to be rebuilt every pass, and they're out of control fast. Well, here in the last couple of years, there's been this huge surge in popularity for door slammer cars, like this no prep racing and pro mod racing and small tire and outlaw and stuff like that. And those are real cars, like you see these guys on TV, these street outlaw guys who are racing real cars that have VIN plates. And I mean, yes, they've been wildly modified and they're out of control. And some people could argue that they're not street cars, but they were real cars, and that stuff is getting hugely popular in the drag racing world. And I think that some of our road racing and circle track people need to take a leaf from that, take a page out of their book and understand that's maybe what some of us are looking for, the younger generation. I want to be able to relate to that car, just like you did when you were my age in the 60s and the 70s.
Or just try it as a series. You don't have to replace...
In the grand scheme of things, how expensive could it possibly be to take a bunch of,
Camaros, Mustangs, and
Challengers and put some cages in them and take them out on a super speedway?
Well, doesn't IMSA do that kind of? I mean, they're built up cages and stuff, but at least they look like the Mustangs and Camaros.
Yeah, they do, and they use like a bias ply that's got a lot of give to it, and they're very squirrely. Like that is so much fun to watch. That's great racing.
But think if you took NASCAR's resources and directed it at that type of racing,
it'd be out of control.
You'd think so, yeah.
It'd be huge because it's relatable.
NASCAR's just making too many changes all the time, and so it's hard to know, which direction they're going to go. It's like they try something, but they never get to give it a chance to show what it's going to do and stuff. Like the repair thing where you had to go back paddock and you only had like 5 minutes or whatever. That didn't make sense to me at all.
Yeah. Yep. It seems like F1's having the same struggle too. They're trying to hit this moving target of what do our people want to see, and they're never anywhere close to me. Now, maybe I'm not the average viewer because I don't really watch a lot of racing anymore, but that's partly because I'm not that interested in a lot of it. I watch a lot of PWC. I watch a lot of IMSA racing because those are real cars. They're out there doing interesting things. I'd rather watch, Spec B class Honda Fits out there tearing it up than watch NASCAR because those aren't real cars to me.
Yeah, agreed. I think we all agree with that.
The level of racing is really not that different. The speeds are vastly different, but the level of competition really isn't. Still great drivers doing awesome things. They're just in cars that are more realistic.
Agreed. I think that's all there is to say about NASCAR.
I think so.
For this week. Probably next week we'll have
sure we will.
something to complain about.
Sure, gosh.
Don't forget, guys, to go to TitanFuelTanks.com. Check out everything they have to offer. If you're a Jeep person, you like to go off-roading, or do other activities with your Jeep, they do have it's a really interesting tank that basically goes where your spare tire sits. It's available for JK, TJ, and YJ Wranglers, and I think they fit on the CJs as well. But basically, it sits where your back spare tire would normally sit,
Yep.
and then you can actually mount your spare tire on the outside of that.
It's only a couple inches thick, so it really doesn't add a ton to it.
No, but you do get 12 gallons out of that tank. So, and it's basically just a transfer tank.
Yep.
So you can add more fuel if you're out running trails or something like that without having to run jerry cans on the back, which
I feel in that scenario, having it up on the back of the truck is much better than a large capacity underbelly tank.
probably true. Saves you some ground clearance.
Yeah, that's what I'd be worried about. Maybe I'm way off base, but
And of course,
I
what's
watched
that?
that video, the Titan Tanks video, where they drop the tank and stuff. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
isn't it? That is pretty
it's such
cool.
a cool video.
You kind of sit back and go, how is that metal one completely illegal? Like, why is that
Yeah,
okay?
it just blows out. Just all the
That's DOT certified, but this plastic one is not what we're doing here. It's
Right.
the weird one.
These tanks are all made of polyethylene. They come with a lifetime warranty, and they're made in the USA. So check out TitanFuelTanks.com. They have several solutions for different levels of trucks, including transfer tanks for your race car. So check that out. Anything else we want to run over with James before we let him go?
Plugs?
What do you got, James?
So, as always, you can find my stuff on kangamotorsports.com. So, KANGA motorsports.com. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the social media. You can typically find me out there. I want to say a big thank you to Rick at CSR Performance for helping me out all last weekend and getting the car ready. And then also a big thank you to Millennium Engineering Integration Company. They've come on board for the first half of the season as our title sponsor. So
Be sure to follow James. He's a real hustler. He's getting shit done, and it's really cool to watch.
I think if it's something that people are interested in, we'd like to bring James back to talk more about his experience with sponsorship. James, if you would be open to that conversation.
Sure, yeah. Maybe you guys can ask some questions from listeners beforehand, and then we could kind of do a QA a little bit.
Yeah.
I think sponsorship to a lot of people is a very lofty goal, and it's really, I don't think they know how to approach it. And not to say that we know how to approach it either.
No.
We've had some good luck with the podcast, and so some things happen for us, and so we're not going to say that we're sponsorship experts by any means, but James is definitely a hustler. He's got some sponsors, and he's done a really great job with it, especially in the last year. Even since we talked to you last, you've had a lot of things come together as far as sponsors go. I don't want to say luck because you've worked really hard to get them, and I think that's part of the process too that people need to understand is it's work. From when you and I have talked about how you bring on sponsors, it's legitimate work.
Yeah, and it doesn't just happen overnight. You've got to put in the time and you've got to add the value. So.
But if it's something that people would be interested in learning about, definitely hit us up on our Facebook, social media, all the sites, send us emails, whatever. Let us know, because if it's something that people are interested in, we'll bring James back and we'll have a show about that.
Sweet. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for coming on. It was great to actually talk to you for once, since I did not get to be a part of it last time.
Yeah, I replaced you last time. Yeah.
So,
All right. Thanks again, James, and we'll catch everybody next week.
Thank you.